And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Channel 6 TV. Glad you could join us at CKTV. I'm Kenny Fogel, your moderator tonight. As Political Focus, we've been doing this for the last few weeks, and hopefully we're going to continue doing it all the way up to the 4th of November, and that's the magic date. November 4, 2014 will be Election Day, and that's the day you make a decision. And what our job to do is right now is to give you a little education, a little information about who is running and what offices actually are in the running for right now. So tonight, we're talking about Nelson County Coroner. We've got with us tonight, we've got the current Nelson County Coroner, Mr. Phil Hoagland here, and his challenger, Danielle Claddick. Well, Danielle, I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us first of all who you are and tell us a bit about, tell us who Danielle Claddick is.
Okay, thank you for saying my name right. I do appreciate that too. My name is Danielle Claddick, and I have been in Nelson County for 17 years. I have run against Field a couple of times, and before him, I ran against Sonny Greenwell. I am married, and I have 2 daughters and a grandson that is 9 months old. I have, for my education, I have a master's degree in forensic science investigations, and I have worked with police departments, medical fields, and done investigations through private investigations as well as through retail sources. What else?
Okay. Well, Phil, tell us, you've been around here for a little while. Some people know you, some don't, but tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I was a lifelong resident of Nelson County. I grew up over Bloomfield. I graduated from Bloomfield High School in 1969. I continued my education and went to Western Kentucky University and graduated down there in 1973. After completing my education at Western, I came back home and went to the Kentucky School of Mortuary Science in Louisville, Kentucky, and graduated there, and then came back to Bloomfield and went into partnership with my father. And then my dad died in 1980, so I basically have been doing the funeral business all my life. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer. I am a master coroner, and that's the highest degree that you can get for being a coroner in Kentucky, and that was bestowed upon me back in 2008. You have to have at least 300 cases. You have to be in office for 12 years, and my certification, my number is number 52, so that shows you how long I've been doing this. I was so fortunate to start out with Dr. Charles Spalding, and Dr. Spalding is a fine physician in Bardstown, or a retired physician, and he saw fit to appoint Sonny and I as deputy coroners back in '77. So I've been doing this all my life. I have grown to know a lot of people. I have a funeral home in Bardstown, I have a funeral home in Bloomfield, and then I co-own a funeral home in Taylorsville. So I get to see a lot of people, I get to know a lot of people, and it's been a privilege to work with the citizens of Nelson County, and I have felt like I've done a good job, and we've tried to do the job to the best of our ability.
Well, one of the things a lot of people probably don't know about the coroner's office, obviously, it is constitutionally the highest office in the county. So it's an office that is very well high thought of, obviously, because again, it is the highest office in Nelson County. And Danielle, you mentioned studying investigative. I mean, obviously, all of us watch NCIS and all these things and all these other shows. Is that something you think that what does that bring to the coroner's office?
Well, the coroner's office is in charge of the investigations in the case of a death, because they're the highest law enforcement official. So being that I have the background in investigations and in law enforcement, and I've gone pretty much to school for medical legal death investigations, I would bring that to the office. The coroner's office would be more in touch and involved with the investigations of a death scene.
Okay. Well, Phil, obviously, you've mentioned how many cases you've done, and I'd say the majority of them are relatively routine, but you do get a few high-profile cases and a few cases that are a little, I don't want to say mystery involved, but you got to do a little investigating, a little bit of work. And how have you done that over the years?
Well, you try to work hand in hand, Kenny, with the police department. They have better equipment than what we are equipped with. You try to have a close-knit organization where you communicate with the police. I mean, we've had airplane crashes. We had the policeman, Jason Ellis, got killed. Probably the worst thing we've had in a long time is Samantha.
The Netherlands.
Yeah, that was very bad, very bad. And, it's kind of a team effort. You have the medical examiner in Louisville that you can call on to assist you. We also had the tragic house fire up here a few years ago. And we've had, for Nelson County, some horrific incidents. And I've been very fortunate. Everything has gone off smoothly. We haven't had any problems. And I think it's a joint effort between all the organizations that I am associated with to make this work and go smooth, and it has worked very well.
But Daniil, obviously you run for the office and you're running again, and there's a reason you're running for the office, obviously. What is it about most people don't even realize there's issues with the government, with the coroner's office. They don't really understand what they do and what the issues are. What would you say the reason you would want to run, and what is it you'd like to do?
Well, I believe there's a conflict of interest. And I know most small counties, or even larger counties, have in their rural areas, their coroners are working out of the funeral homes. That is commonplace. But I would like it to come out of the funeral home, stop the conflict of interest, and be able to work hand in hand with the law enforcement officers. Okay.
Well, Phil, you see the system working pretty much the way it should, or do you see the need for a change?
I think over the years we have saved the taxpayers of Nelson County money. I have equipment. When I built the funeral home out on 245 New Shepherdsville Road, I installed a refrigeration unit that I could use for the funeral home, and I can also use it for my coroner's office. Everything that we have tried to do over the years, I have a wonderful deputy, my chief deputy, and Brian Pappenfuss. Brian has been with me, and he has a lot of experience. Next year he will become a master coroner. He was with his father out in Nebraska, who was, and at that time, he was the chief medical examiner for the state of Nebraska, so Brian gained a lot of knowledge and insight with the coroner's office while he was assisting and helping his dad. And I think I have a good team. I thought I had a good team when I added my daughter Rebecca, but then, that was brought to my attention, which I didn't know. I paid my fine. I paid the $1,000 fine that Rebecca shouldn't have been a deputy coroner, and that's fine. I asked for her resignation, and she gave it to me. And I think the thing that the citizens of Nelson County are so frustrated with, and I myself am frustrated with, if Rebecca was not qualified, it would have been one thing. But Rebecca was qualified. She is a licensed mortician. She graduated from Mid-America College of Mortuary Science. She is helping me at my funeral home in Bloomfield, Bardstown, and Taylorsville, and she was making $10 a day, $300 a month. And I had two other deputy coroners that I had talked to about doing it. I hired one. He never would answer the phone. I talked to another fellow, and I asked him would he be interested in the job, because he rode with Brian and I for a while. And then he said, "What does it pay, Phil?" I said, "It pays $300 a month." He said, "That's crazy." He said, "I can make more money working at a fast food restaurant than I can being a deputy coroner. And your life is not your life." And I think this is something that Daniil doesn't understand. I'm on call not only for the coroner's office, but for my funeral home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I chose to do this because this is my life. I had a wonderful father. My father taught me what I needed to know. He taught me to treat people with respect. He taught me to treat people with dignity. And he always said, "Phil, if you'll treat people the way you'd like to be treated, you'll be fine." But I'm going to tell you, Kenny, after my name has been drugged, you think I am the king mafia man here in Bardstown and Nelson County, the way my name has been slandered and brought out in the paper. I mean, if I'm such a terrible guy, it's amazing to me that I have had people call me wanting to give me money. I said, "No, I've paid my fine." It just goes on and on and on. And I think the citizens of Nelson County are sick and tired of hearing it, and I know personally I am.
Yeah, well, Daniil, I know obviously the deputy coroner issue has been an issue. I mean, that's something as coroner you would have to do as well. I mean, what's your position on hiring deputy coroners, and what would your office look like?
Well, let me just clear up one thing. I don't have a problem with Rebecca being qualified or not. Yes, she is very qualified. Yes, she could have handled the position. The problem is that it was a violation of the nepotism statute. It's been in place for a long time. If I've known about it, other official knows about it. I would personally like to invite Brian to stay on with my administration in order to have the office go peacefully and be able to have his experience and mine and merge those together and be able to help the citizens of Nelson County.
And it is a time, as you Phil mentioned, it's a time-consuming job. I mean, obviously,
Right.
you realize it is 24 hours a day, 7
I
days
know
a
that.
week. And,
I know that.
And that's something that, like I said, how big a staff would you think would be necessary for something like that? Or you and one other you think could handle it?
Well, the size of Nelson County, we could have 2 deputies and a coroner. And as far as the pay, you can go to fiscal court and apply for a higher wage. There is paperwork for that. And I do have another person that's interested in it. She's taken forensic classes and she's very interested in it. And I wouldn't have had a problem helping the current coroner's office. I've never gotten a phone call. When I first moved here, I was told by Sonny that I would never be able to work in the coroner's office because I wouldn't work in the funeral home. And I don't have a reason to work in the funeral home. I went to school to be a crime scene investigator.
Okay. All right, Phil. Well, obviously, we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. But again, I'll let you explain anything or bring up anything you want to bring up before we get out of here.
Well, I think Kenny Daniil is missing the point. We're not crime scene investigators. That is the job of the police. Our job is to determine the cause and manner of death when somebody passes away. Mm-hmm. If somebody gets murdered, then, it's my job to say they were murdered and it's ruled a homicide. If somebody goes out here and commits suicide, it's my job to say they committed suicide and I mark on the death certificate, it's suicide. So as far as going out in the field and saying you're a crime scene investigator, that's not my job, that's not Daniil's job. That is the job of the police department, whether it be the sheriff's office, Bardstown City Police, or the state police. And I think if Daniil would look and see over the years, you're going to create more and more problems, because I can tell you some of these defense attorneys would love to get her on the scene and say, well, now, you're such an expert in your field of expertise. Why did you not do this or why did you not do that? That's not my job. I've never said it was my job to determine anything other than the cause and manner of death.
Daniil, do you view the job differently? I mean, how do you view the job?
No, I don't view it differently, and I know what the job entails. Mm-hmm. But you are the highest law enforcement official. You should have investigative background. You need to know what's going on with the investigation, and you not necessarily can take the word of your officers, not saying that that has ever happened, but I work hand in hand with my officers. I've been at Walmart for 10 years doing retail security, and I'm not there now, but I do have my own business for investigations. Mm-hmm. So I work with the officers. There's never been a question about that, and I do know what the job entails.
Well, as you mentioned, work in different places, and what is it about the coroner's office that attracts you to this office, that makes you want to be the coroner? Is there any particular reason, or you just believe it's a public service? So what is it that makes Daniil Claddick tick?
I think it's a public service. I do believe that with my background and my experiences, that it would be a big asset to the office. Okay,
and obviously Rayfield Hoagland, we call you Field obviously, but you've been in this job for a few years and you want to continue doing it. So apparently you either enjoy the job or you like what you're doing, or you think you have a reason to want to be coroner.
Well, Kenny, I've been doing it since 1977. And the people of Nelson County and the citizens of Nelson County have been very gracious to me. I have tried to be gracious to them. I try to do my job to the best of my ability. I try to be compassionate and caring. And it's like I said, it's not the most glamorous job in the world, but it's a job that somebody has to do, somebody needs to do. And I think we have done a very good job. We haven't had any issues. We haven't had any problems. The only issue we've had was me hiring Rebecca. And when that came about, truthfully, I didn't read the ordinance. It went into effect in 1995 when Sonny Green was the coroner. And if you would read through the manual, it's thick. And if you would ask very many of the people that are in public office if they've read it, and most of them will say no. There was an exception in the Ethics Commission that said, the county attorney could hire his son. Well, that's fine. And I think when you look around at other counties, this is a job that nobody really wants. Nobody wants to do it, and most of the people that are in the coroner's office are in the funeral home simply because they are equipped. I mean, I have a funeral home, I have vans, I have access to a funeral home where I can take people. If somebody passes away, you've got to have a facility to be able to take these people. I mean, you know, you just can't take them out here on the street. You can't bring them out here to Channel 6.
Yeah, Gary frowned on that.
Gary wouldn't appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I have the facility. I think it's a savings to the taxpayers of Nelson County, and I've been willing to do it. And I appreciate the people of Nelson County bestowing their trust upon me for the years over, and I'm just very thankful that I've been able to do it. But I can tell you the last few months of my life have been very trying and very stressful over something that I think was politically motivated. And I've said all along, and I have nothing personally against Danielle, nothing personally whatsoever against her. I just think, you know, if this hadn't been an election year, this issue with Rebecca being my deputy coroner would probably never been brought up. But, you know, as the old saying, politics are politics.
Well, Danielle, obviously, I mean, I just want to touch on one thing. I know you've been talking about this before, as having a facility for doing coroner's work. Would that be an issue to you?
I don't believe so. Actually, the fiscal court offered field office in the courthouse, in the old courthouse. So there's a position or an office that is open. There's also the white building that's over by the courthouse. It has several offices open. It's not an issue, and I know the medical examiner's office will hold bodies until the family is notified, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Well, before we go, I'll let you, if there's anything you'd like to add, and like anything you'd like to basically just direct directly to the voters before the 4th of November, and I'll just let you finish it out here for us.
Okay. All right. Like I said, my name is Danielle Klodick, and I am running for your Nelson County Coroner. I would appreciate your vote in November, and there will be no conflict of interest because I'm not associated with a funeral home. There will be no nepotism because that has been taken care of. And there will be an investigator in the coroner's office. I appreciate your votes. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And Phil, we'll let you have the last word. And
The office that I was offered in the courthouse made no provision to take a human body. It was an office with a telephone. I have telephones out at my funeral home, and why would I want to go down there when I could do what I have to do there at my funeral home?
okay.
I think with Brian's experience and my experience over the years, we are the most qualified, we have the most training, we have the most experience, and I think we have executed the office of Nelson County Coroner to the best of our ability. I've been doing this since 1977. I have never had any problems about any questions about death certificates, cause, manner of death. Everything has gone the way that it should be. I have a facility out on New Shepherdsville Road that I use. Yes, it is my funeral home, but it's also a savings to the taxpayers of Nelson County. I think Danielle doesn't really have an idea as to what she is getting into because one person cannot cover the entire county of Nelson County. She is correct. The state statutes allow for 1 coroner and 2 deputies, and I think I have the best team. I have some people that I have talked to about maybe trying to be my other deputy coroner. I'm not willing to say who that is at this point in time, but I think with Brian's expertise, my expertise, and our experience, we bring the best quality and the best opportunity to be your Nelson County Coroner. I look forward to serving you for 4 more years, and I appreciate your support in the past, and I appreciate your vote this November the 4th. I'd like to thank Kenny and Gary with Channel 6 for bringing this to you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you both being here tonight. I know politics is obviously one of the worst things, one of the worst parts about being any job, because obviously these jobs are not real political, but at the same time, you've got a choice. And this is a place where we make the choices. That's on Election Day, the 4th of November, and we'll be making a choice of who the next Nelson County Coroner will be. And we do appreciate you tuning in. Danielle Klodick, Phil Hoagland, and they'll be your candidates on the ballot. And we appreciate you listening in as we inform and educate the best we can. So for all of you on Channel 6, this is Kenny Fogel saying so long. See you next time on Political Profiles and Political Focus. Take care now.